Hi everybody, I'm here on the beach and oh me oh my, summer is almost here in my hometown of I couldn't think of a nameville. All I can say now is that today is pretty cool. Aid. Okay, so in the distant world of 1927 Nebraska, the Perkins Company came out with Kool-Aid. It basically acts as the midpoint between juices to stuff like Pepsi and other softer drinks. It did well, but 32 years later, something big happened. Fidel Castro became the Prime Minister of Cuba. Also Kool-Aid. The Kool-Aid Man debuted in a black and white commercial where he was nothing more than a pitcher with a face. Now we don't know much yet, but I can already assure you that he's more than likely an organic life form. In the 1970s, we would see a resurgence of commercials involving the lovable pitcher. My personal favorite of this time is a couple of kids summoning him by yelling his name and he effortlessly breaks through a brick wall. The brick wall gimmick, along with his general design being a pitcher with limbs, is basically the essence of the Kool-Aid Man, as we see him today being a part of the Kraft Company from a whole lot of other companies coming together and stuff. I would argue the Kool-Aid Man is one consistent entity, not like a family with each major design being a separate generation that could technically be correct, because I don't really want to think about how this pitcher could be a father. Even then, I would go as far as to say there is definitely an intense slope of how dangerous the Kool-Aid Man actually is. This is a graph I made to kind of just give an idea of how bad it is. At first, it's just a slow rise, but as you continue, it does that. This is because the more recent Kool-Aid Man iteration has basically settled down. Thanks to recent advertising, we see that he's a loving husband and father of two based on the progressive commercials, and we also learn, according to official sources, that he's both the pitcher and the Kool-Aid. Though based on a scene where he's showering, it seems like the pitcher is what he's more of, adding Kool-Aid in part of the process. But where does he get those giant ice cubes from? Or does he get the time to produce large blocks of ice on a daily? Commercials also imply that he destroys his own house, but how is the Kool-Aid Man financially capable of supporting a family, large amounts of ice, and destroying the general structure of his home on a consistent basis? Well, I can actually confirm that the Kool-Aid Man is possibly insanely wealthy. In the 90s, he owns a nice house and the wacky warehouse mall, so good for him. Unrelated, but he also mentions that people get uncomfortable when he drinks from his own pitcher, even though his eyes and mouth lead to nowhere, with recent iterations having the eyes and mouth be condensation kind of connected to his face. Does this faze him? Hell no! In a commercial, the Kool-Aid Man and some kids are in a lab until liquid neon shows up. Like any self-respecting person, his natural instinct is to immediately chuck it, and makes this weird two-face evil neon man. The commercial ends by revealing that it was all a bad dream, meaning that the Kool-Aid Man is capable of comprehending fear. And even though this moment is a dream sequence, I'm gonna assume from this commercial, this is actually how he eats, meaning that things can somehow enter his mouth and the Kool-Aid doesn't spill out, which just makes me think he has several mouths that food has to go through to be eaten, or maybe he just eats and drinks things because he can, or maybe it's like the doors in Sandy's house in SpongeBob where there's two doors where the water drains. I don't know. Again, he's organic, but Kool-Aid Man in terms of capabilities is genuinely terrifying. Going back to what he's known for, glass doesn't function well when colliding with solid walls, and I don't know about you, but I have had some challenges walking through walls. So if I were to guess, the pitcher is made out of some transparent mineral like diamonds, I think, or something like that. Physically, the Kool-Aid Man is roughly 7 to 8 feet tall, 11,000 pounds, and has maintained this physique for half a century. Not to mention, Kool-Aid Man flat out has superpowers, and when I say superpowers, I don't mean he's like a powerful character. I mean he's unironically one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel comics. In 1983, there was a collection of Kool-Aid Man comics published and part of Marvel. Just like any iconic superhero, he's gotta have a nemesis. Batman and Joker, Mario and Bowser, the rest of the world in Europe. Kool-Aid Man's nemesis is dehydration. There's a little species called the Thirsties who just love droughts and want to make everyone dehydrated, and the Kool-Aid amigo goes, hey, that's not very nice, and dehydrates the hydrated dehydrators. In the comics, we learn what this goofball is capable of, like breaking into a spaceship without momentum, withstanding a dehydration ray because he is just hydration, and time traveling in part of an adventure to give the ever-iconic Benjamin Franklin a delectable beverage. In commercials, it gets even worse. In this universe, everything correlating with Kool-Aid Man possesses supernatural danger that more often than not gets shrugged off. Over the decades, we've witnessed the funny red pitcher man possess super speed when eating salsa, his teardrops capable of resurrection via the funeral of the planter's peanut in the 2020 Super Bowl. He can effortlessly produce snow, turns mountains into Kool-Aid, can manipulate all Kool-Aid substances like a waterbender, and just for the hell of it, one time he shattered the sun. I don't know how, I don't know why, but he did it. Family Guy Kool-Aid Man is probably the weirdest iteration in my opinion. He's prominent enough to be a reoccurring character who can summon walls in the Family Guy mobile game Family Guy: The Quest for Stuff, yet in one episode he breaks through a courthouse wall, only then to immediately break seconds later from stumbling backwards. But even then, he probably can regenerate, as we've seen before. The world that the Kool-Aid Man lives in is overall confusing, with product mascots basically just being people, along with there being weird holes and small things that bother me a bit more than they should. Like, how come he gets to play bumper cars in a bigger car? Why is there a bigger bumper car already ready for him? That's marginally a massive disadvantage for every other car. Not to mention, his intelligence is extremely inconsistent. Chronologically, his language capabilities have started competent enough, being able to utter entire phrases. Then he regressed toward acting on whatever he felt like, as we see with him eating strange substances and kidnapping children without hesitation. Then he goes mute, in this weird phase where he decides to stop being nude all the time and is friends with this character named Coke, who is just there to make Kool-Aid Man look better. Like, he serves no purpose other than Kool-Aid Craig just being a dick and forcing him to go log rolling. Weirdest of all, the 2010 Kool-Aid Man is a marvel to witness given the continuity. He loses most of his supernatural and speaking abilities, though he's smart enough to play the trumpet, and then somehow immediately after he gets distracted by butterflies, gets tickled when he gets pelted by golf balls, and somehow he likes making bubbles when being shaken fast enough, and there's even one time where he gets stuck in a slide in a local playground. How did he do that? Potentially the worst of all is the Kool-Aid Man pocket dimension. Every once in a while, the Kool-Aid Man will just get bored and throw a pocket dimension party. It's basically just this fun zone where the funny Kool-Aid Man is the blood that runs through everything here. Everyone drinks Kool-Aid and jet skis shoot Kool-Aid. The dude can even turn water into Kool-Aid, and he's the god of the funny juice, but not everyone likes that. Okay, so long story short, the Kool-Aid Man is friends with a lot of people, but not the police. Short story long, one day the Kool-Aid Man is stomping by an orange tree at his house to make them fall down. And then the police show up and say to the Kool-Aid Man, "Hey bucko, you better knock that off or we're gonna have to do something." And then he says, "Hey kids, let's torture the police." In that one commercial where he runs hundreds of miles per hour after eating a spicy salsa chip sample, it's revealed that he's actually a hyper-intelligent chemist and produces a Kool-Aid that immediately nullifies any spice. Then the police and fire department show up, only for there to not be one. How wacky and knee-slappingly silly for a 30-second ad in the 90s or early 2000s, I didn't bother to look it up. Justifiably though, I think the police might be in the right when it comes to the iconic picture. He's unironically an awful influence. He's like a cool uncle that you see monthly for a fun weekend activity. He loves fun, but he never considers the repercussions of his antics. He's unhinged, a being of chaos, immovable for being 5.5 tons, yet unfathomably speedy and durable. As fun as the Kool-Aid Man dimension might be, I would highly advise his elimination as quickly as possible, for he is quite literally an unfathomable evil of temptation. I don't even know if we can kill him, because again, he just walks through walls effortlessly. I don't know how durable this guy is. In this world, drinking Kool-Aid is quite possibly one of the most dangerous things people can do. Children literally stretch and dislocate their bodies at the mere sight of Kool-Aid. Drinking the stuff can possess some benefits, such as rapid muscle regeneration, rapid hair growth, and even acting as a youth serum. The trade-offs, however, in my opinion, are not at all worth it. Besides, whatever the hell this should be enough proof that you shouldn't be doing that. And once you drink it, he's basically capable of bloodbending at this point, because the Kool-Aid is inside you. It's just not good in my humble little brain hole. And I don't think this universe specifically is ever gonna recover from the Kool-Aid craze. It's been a prominent thing for over 70 years now. Kids drop everything for a chance of getting the substance so far that they'll obey the dude and hate the police or face getting shredded from the inside out for drinking Kool-Aid. Even without his influence, we witness people be terrible just because of the Kool-Aid. In some old cartoons, Bug Bunny participates and cheats in the Winter Olympics just because Kool-Aid is that good. It's one thing to have product placement, but it's like 16 other things that come from the opposite of that. I don't know what I'm saying here. I'm gonna keep this in. I think it'll be funny. So overall, we basically gotta pray that the Kool-Aid Man stays goodish, I guess. He's a cool dude without an attitude, and I'm sure someone's tried swimming in him before, but that doesn't matter. In my opinion, the Kool-Aid Man and the Kool-Aid system as a whole is basically the same as escalators. They can be fun, they can bring good memories, but you need to remember to fear and respect the escalator. I have read about a stupid kid getting caught in an escalator recently, and it's like that could have easily been avoided had we taught each other not be stupid little dum-dums. Don't drink Kool-Aid. Oh. Well, it looks like my tan is as good as finished, so I'm gonna skedaddle, but before I do, I want to share one crucial thing about the Kool-Aid Man. If you remember, the Kool-Aid Man is responsible for contaminating and manipulating major bodies of water with Kool-Aid. For example, he does it with the jet skis. Now, I'm not at the ocean beach. I'm at a lake beach. And if you're wondering why, it's because the Kool-Aid Man has destroyed all the oceans with orange Kool-Aid!